Module 1 under 8 we have security mechanisms. ITU-T X800 also recommends some security mechanisms to provide the security services defined in the previous section. So to provide the security services, you need some kind of security mechanisms. We have already discussed this in the previous part. What are the different security mechanisms? Encipherment, data integrity, digital signature, authentication exchange, traffic padding, routing control, notarization, and access controller. So first is encipherment. Encipherment is nothing but hiding or covering data. For example, this also we have already discussed. If I write middle, this middle can be easily readable, so I exchange it by DLEWCI. Now this is the hidden text which is covering the word middle. This is what? This is my hidden text. So it can provide confidentiality. It can also be used to complement other mechanisms to provide other services. The two techniques which are used for encipherment are cryptography and stenography. We will be studying about the cryptography mechanisms because our subject is cryptography and system securities. Next is data integrity. The data integrity mechanism appends to the data a short check value that has been created by a specific process from the data itself. So it will assign a check value which is created from the data itself. The receiver receives the data and the check value. He creates a new check value from the received data and compares the newly created check value with the one received. If the two check values are same, then the integrity of the data is preserved. Next is digital signature. Digital signature is a means by which a sender can electronically sign the data and the receiver can electronically verify the signature. Sender will electronically sign the data and the receiver will electronically verify the data. The sender uses a process that involves showing that she owns a private key related to the public key that she has announced publicly. So what will the sender do? The sender will use a process and show that I am owning a private key, and this private key is related to the public key which I have announced publicly. The receiver uses the sender's public key to prove that the message is indeed signed by the sender who claims that the message has been sent. This will prevent repudiation. That means the sender cannot say that now I have not sent the message. Okay, he has to stick to his words that he has only sent the message. Authentication exchange. In authentication exchange, two entities exchange some messages to prove their identity to each other. For example, one entity can prove that she knows a secret that only she is supposed to know. So we have this wherein there are two entities, say Alice and Bob, and Alice will say to Bob that I only know your key password. And Bob will also assure Alice that I only know your key password, Alice. So this way they can reveal one such secret which they know about each other, so that they can detect that they are only there is no Behrupia. Traffic padding. Traffic padding means inserting some bogus data into the data traffic to thwart the adversary's attempt to use traffic analysis. Very simple. What will they do? Some bogus data will be inserted by whom? By the sender of the data. Why will the sender insert the bogus data? To confuse the attacker, because attacker does traffic analysis and tries to take out the information. So to confuse the attacker, the sender will insert bogus data. and prevent the attacker from understanding what the actual message is through traffic analysis. Routing controller. Routing control means selecting and continuously changing different available routes between the sender and the receiver to prevent the opponent from eavesdropping on a particular route. Again, eavesdropping is a type of attack wherein the attacker will silently listen to the conversation, to the messages which are being sent. So suppose there is a message sent between Alice and Bob, then the attacker can eavesdrop the messages which are sent by Alice. To prevent this, what will Alice do? Alice will open up various routes. So there will be routes, that is A, B, C, D. So many routes will be opened up so that the attacker again gets confused. So eavesdropping is a passive attack. Traffic analysis is a passive attack. In passive attack, there is an attempt made to confuse the attacker to prevent the passive attack. Because we have seen that passive attacks, they are easier to prevent than to detect. So you cannot detect the passive attack, but you can prevent the passive attack. How can you prevent? By using encipherment, by confusing the attacker. So routing control, traffic padding, they confuse the attacker. Notarization. Notarization means selecting a third trusted party to control the communication between two entities. This can be done, for example, to prevent repudiation. So notarization is there to prevent repudiation. The receiver can involve a trusted third party to store the sender's request in order to prevent the sender from later denying that she has made such a request. So what will the receiver do? Suppose Alice is the sender and Bob is the receiver, and Alice is saying, Bob, please transfer a sum of 10,000 rupees. Then Bob will record this message and send it to a third party, say Sam. And this Sam here is a third party. What will Sam do? Sam will keep this message intact. So that later, even if Alice denies that no, I hadn't sent you such a message, then Bob can take the help of Sam and say that Sam was a person who has seen this conversation which has happened between us. So the trusted third party is present. Next is access controller. Access control uses methods to prove that the user has access rights to the data or resources owned by the system. Examples of proofs are passwords and pins. This is the examples of access controller. Next very important question is relationship between services and mechanisms. We already saw that for the various services we need mechanisms. We are dependent on the mechanisms for the execution of various services. Now we will see what is the actual relationship between them. Table 1.2 shows the relationship between security services and security mechanisms. The table shows that there are three mechanisms. Encipherment, digital signature and authentication exchange can be used to provide authentication. The table also shows the following relationships. The encipherment mechanisms may be involved in three services: data confidentiality, data integrity and authentication. So here we see that data confidentiality is a security service. For that, encipherment and routing control is used. Why is it used? Simple. Encipherment, we already know that we have to hide the data. Why do we have to hide the data? To prevent traffic analysis, which is an attack of data confidentiality, and routing control again to hide, that is again traffic analysis, so that the attacker cannot do traffic analysis. We use different routes so that he cannot eavesdrop. If he eavesdrops, then our data will be leaked to him. So these are the two mechanisms which can be used so that data confidentiality is maintained. Data integrity, again encipherment, digital signature, data integrity. Encipherment is hide the data from the attacker, so the data integrity is maintained. Authentication, again encipherment, digital signature, authentication exchanges. Non-repudiation, digital signature. Why digital signature? Because you are signing that the sender is signing and the receiver is also signing that it has received, so that in the future neither the sender can deny that it has sent the message nor the receiver can deny that it has received the message. Data integrity and notarization. Notarization was very important for non-repudiation. To prevent repudiation, that is, it was very important for non-repudiation, that is, to take a third party, a third trusted party in between the sender and the receiver. Access control, by using the access control mechanisms. Example was password and pins.